Hey folks, it's Mike with Mike's Metalworking coming at you with another video. Today I'm going to be explaining how to safely alloy your own brass at home from zinc and copper, as well as breaking down the simple alloy calculations and measurements needed to make the alloy known as new gold, which is a type of brass alloy that has an attractive, as you guessed it, golden color, and that's made of 15% zinc and 85% copper by weight in its most basic form, which is all we're going to be doing today. And so to figure out the weight that you need, I'm starting off with 200 grams. That's how much I want to make the ingot, or how much I want the ingot to weigh. So to start off, I'm going to use 15% zinc. So 0.15, which is equivalent to 15%, times 200 gives us 30 grams of zinc needed to reach 15%. And that same formula, which is 200 times 0.85 in copper's case, gives us a needed weight of 170 grams. And you can check to make sure that you did the math right on this. If you add the two ingredients together, in this case 30 plus 170 equals 200, you can tell that all of the percentages and your math is right. For this it's pretty easy, but when you get into alloys that have more ingredients and ingredients that have like 0.1 or 0.1% or less additions, it can get a little bit more complicated. To start off, we're going to get 170 grams of copper. So I've already got everything weighed out right here to make it easy. Exactly 170 grams, but if you have like 169.9 or like 170.1 for simple backyard alloying for making brass and other simple alloys like this, if it's off by 0.1 or hell, even 0.5 grams for some of these things, it's really not going to make too much of a difference. So there's no need to go crazy about it. Next up, we're going to need 30 grams of zinc. So this is some zinc shot that I made by melting zinc and pouring it into a large bucket of water. As the zinc hit the water, it splattered and turned into these little beads, which is perfect for alloying. And this also has a very important other function too that I'm going to get into in a little bit. So I'll put all of these on the scale, make sure, oops. All right, 30 grams exactly, perfect. So now we have all the ingredients and we are ready to start melting. And here is why it's important to turn your zinc into these little granules before casting. So if you were to take all of this and add it in the form of a single ingot, that single ingot, when added to the molten copper, there's a good chance that because it's one big ingot and it's cold, it will begin to actually freeze some of that molten copper. And as we mentioned before, zinc boils at 900 degrees Celsius. So even when the copper freezes up when adding a large chunk of zinc, it's still very likely over that 900 degrees Celsius mark. So a bit of an unfortunate reaction happens. Zinc floats on top of the molten copper and all of it gets heated above the boiling point and it starts shooting tons and tons of fumes out the top. It kind of looks like a fog machine, but the fog has a kind of scary yellow-green color to it. It definitely doesn't look good. So what this does is it allows us to add our zinc piecemeal. So by adding just a little tiny piece, which weighs anywhere from like 1 to 5 grams, I think, from what I measured these, it will drop down into the molten copper and melt and dissolve into the copper almost instantly. And instead of sitting on top, it'll get absorbed into the copper and begin the alloying process, and we won't have to deal with nearly as many fumes. In addition to that, by adding it this way, it means that less zinc is going to be lost to oxidation and boiling, meaning that your alloy will be as close to the exact proportions that you wanted it to as it possibly can. Some zinc always burns off. It's kind of unavoidable. I placed our 170 grams of copper inside one of the clay graphite crucibles like I talked about in the crucible tempering video. I also placed a piece of cardboard down to keep this from getting stuck to the fire brick. And as you can probably notice, some of the cement is starting to flake off and the fire brick is cracked. I'd say this furnace has another 2 weeks to maybe a month before I need to reline it and replace the brick. It still works when it's in this condition, it's just the efficiency starts to get a little bit lower. And it just doesn't look good too. You can see some of the cement has fallen off onto the floor. So I'm gonna take the whole floor out, put a new brick in, and then chip off all this cement stuff, add a fresh layer. It'll be good as new. All right, time to get this started. furnace is lit, I'm gonna wait for the copper to melt and get to that slushy kind of stage before I add any of the zinc. That is the graphite mold that I'm going to be pouring it into. It's one of the smaller ones than the one that I used in the how to prepare an ingot mold video. So I'm letting it sit up there, letting it dry off. I'm going to be heating it to about 300, 400 degrees Celsius before pouring. Should result in a nice clean ingot. Here's the zinc. So we just need to wait for that to get up to temperature, and it's go time. When I'm melting brass, I like to keep the flame down pretty low. So I usually don't ever go above that 0.025 MPa mark. Any more than that and the brass can start to overheat. So like this is way too much, way too hot. It'll waste gas. It might take a tiny bit longer to heat it up slowly, but heating it up slowly ensures that your brass isn't going to get overheated, and it will result in a much cleaner and overall just nicer melting experience. The copper is just beginning to melt down now, and then once it's fully liquid, we can start adding the zinc. I'm placing the zinc granules on top of the furnace lid. What this does is it heats them up a little bit so that once they enter the molten metal, there's less time between them being solid and them being liquid. As the faster the zinc becomes liquid, the easier it's going to melt in with the rest of the metal and dissolve and produce less gas. Once your copper is fully liquid, the next step is to gradually add the zinc granules using a pair of tongs or pliers like I have here. And it's very important to wear gloves when doing this because you can and definitely will burn your hand if you're not careful without gloves. I like to add them slowly, a little bit slower than I showed in the video here. I didn't want this to take forever to get done, so I added them probably a little bit faster, and they made, as you can see, quite a bit of smoke. Now just imagine what would happen if you dropped all of that in at once. It would be so smoky you wouldn't be able to see anything at all. I'm using a steel rod to stir the molten metal. This step is super important. You can use a graphite rod or a steel one. There might be a tiny bit of iron that gets into the brass, but for something like this, again, if anything, that would actually increase tensile strength and probably help the alloy, so nothing to worry about. Like I said before, it would be very helpful to stir after every 1 to 3 zinc granules. Zinc can sometimes float on top of the surface of the molten metal, and like we're seeing here, which is causing some fumes to kick up. I didn't want this video to take any longer than it already did, so I rushed it a little bit. But if you're doing this at home and have ample time, stir after like every 1 to 3 granules to make sure there's no fumes coming off, or to minimize them, I should say. This is a graphite ingot mold coated in boron nitride. It's about 350 degrees Celsius, which is perfect for this type of brass pour. And here we have the molten brass being poured into the ingot mold. All of that nasty white smoke that's coming off of it, that is the zinc oxide fumes that I warned about. So really make sure not to breathe that in. When I was recording this video, and when I pour brass in general, I am wearing a respirator. One that's rated for welding is perfect for this type of stuff. It protects you from metal fumes, and I actually hold my breath when I'm pouring. This, I mean, you can't breathe in any toxic fumes if you're not breathing, right? So using a respirator in conjunction with controlled holding of breath, I guess you could call it, would be my recommendation for staying safe while doing this type of operation. Here's the finished ingot. On most metal castings, there's always a slight bit of surface defects. So if you wanted to get all of these off, you would need to take this then to a belt sander or some other type of device that can remove a lot more metal than just like a flapper disc. So I'll be doing another video on that. And to show off this kind of interesting skin that the tops of the ingots get, I took the flapper disc and sanded away part of it to reveal that the rest of the bar, despite this cool surface effect, is that same uniform, nice pale golden color. So as I was saying before, this is an alloy called New Gold. In industry, it's alloy C 23000. Yeah, 23000. It's a type of what we call red brass. because it doesn't have as much zinc as some of the yellow brasses, and it has more of this kind of reddish golden tone. And I also noticed that whenever I cast red brasses, all of them get this kind of red effect on the top. Hope you guys liked it. And this is how you make brass at home. Hopefully without poisoning yourself, which is kind of the point here. Cheers, hope you guys liked it.